You know what? I haven't tried like, your recording progress and say, got it. What if I click on the other one?
Don't do that. Just
I'm
agree.
just curious. I mean, Cami, this is not the day to be curious, right?
You know what curiosity did to cats. We
I
don't want
know.
that.
And I've never learned my lesson on that one. Well, anyway, we're just gonna wait for at least 2 minutes. So while everybody's here, for those who are um, participating for this workshop, if you don't mind, use the chat and let us know, where are you from? Where in Washington State are you from? I'm in Marysville right now, and it's sunny. So that's a good news, I guess. Michelle is from Seattle. It's probably nice in Seattle. Ooh, Leavenworth. Beer, please, beer. No, just kidding. Isn't it happy hour, Cami, right now?
Everywhere. Everywhere it's happy hour everywhere at some point.
It is. Okay, thank you. And for Heather, welcome. Well, we're just about to start. And if you don't mind putting into the chat, where are you from? Where in Washington are you from? Heather's from Seattle too. The Seattleites are here. Well, welcome, welcome. Let's give ourselves a minute, and there might be some people who's going to join us. I know it's a very lovely day, and I would like to thank you for being here, for choosing us between the weather. I know it's a hard decision to make, but we are so glad that you are all here. Okay.
Oh, and one interesting thing, Heather and I, this is Cami speaking. Heather and I seem to show up under the same initials on the chat. Don't know why that is. So if it seems like it's a strange comment coming from Heather, might be me.
Tammy, are you moving for good or for just for the summer?
For good.
Oh, Olympic Peninsula. I love it there. It's so peaceful.
I'm going to find out even more about rural economies, what's happening there, and how the repair economy can support. And we just had Nancy O'Connor join, who is over on Vashon.
Oh, Vashon Island. There's a thriving economy of repair economy in Vashon.
Yes, we were just talking about an exciting program they have in the works.
Yeah, because I have a handful of clients who work on automotive restoration, something like that. Okay, I just had my final sip of coffee and we're good to go. I have my jazz hands with me. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for waiting, for giving us a few minutes, and thank you for joining the chat and letting us know where you're from. I know it's so lovely out there, but I'm hoping, really hoping, and crossing my finger right now that the time that you spend with us is really fruitful and you will learn something. You have a lot of takeaways from this. So again, I am Giselle Saguid. I am from the Washington Small Business Development Center. I am based in Snohomish County, but I do cover some of the Western Washington area. So with that, I would like to introduce you to Washington SBDC. Now, I'm hoping everybody is using their laptop or anything like that. You can just raise your hand, use your emoticons there at the bottom of the screen, or just use the chat. Who here have worked with SBDC? Just curious. Lisa, put down your hand. Your excuse. So who among our participants today have worked or have met somebody from SBDC, the Small Business Development Center? Feel free to use the chat, like yes, no, or just raise your hands, or if you want, just show your face in the screen and let me know. Okay, Cammy's always an exception, right? Well, I guess, so you are in luck today. Thank you, Michelle. But because I am here to introduce to you the Small Business Development Center. So we are not really new, neither old. We're 40 years old here in Washington State. And so who is Washington Small Business Development Center? So as you can see, this is our offices. So we are heavily focused on Western Washington, but our lead office is in Spokane, in the east side. So the SBDC program history, we started actually through a Small Business Act in 1980. And right now, as of 2023, we have 62 programs all over United States that includes Puerto Rico, Virgin Island, and the Pacific Islands. And we have 2 more centers coming out there. For Washington State, we are partially funded by Washington State University since we started here in 1980. So again, we are federally funded by the Small Business Administration and hosted by Washington State University. So as far as our funding is concerned, half of our program is funded by SBA, and we do this actual bidding every year to kind of like go over some of the programs that we have. So we have a cooperative agreement between SBA, WSU, and some of our stakeholders in Washington State, and that's how we exist here. So our key partners are majority of them are community colleges and universities. And lately, we do have a lot of partners coming from the economic development. So America's SBDC is our accrediting body. So every 2 years, we are being audited. So we are run by Washington State University, being monitored by ASBDC, the America's Small Business Development Center. And we focus on the accreditation standard rather is based on Baldridge, which focused on continuing program. So these are just some of the standards of how SBDC is being run here in Washington State. So this is our mission, and this is really important for us because this is how we help small business. So our mission is helping Washington businesses grow and succeed through advising, education, and research. And our vision is to be Washington's world-class business advising service. At the end of the day, we are here to help all stages of small business, even if it's a pre-venture, startup, or already in business. And eventually, we will also help you do some exit strategy or succession planning. That's where a lot of businesses are facing right now. You know, we have a lot of baby boomers, small business owner, who is planning to retire and stuff like that, but they don't know what to do with their business. So we can also help them go through the process as well. So how do we accomplish our mission? So we provide confidential, face-to-face. We are slowly, okay, there you go. We are slowly transitioning to in-person, but 80% still of our advising session are in Zoom or virtual. Objective business advising to clients, focusing on their specific needs and at no cost. And also, one of the things that we help small business owners is we help them provide the resources, the tools, and knowledge to help them know more about their businesses and how to grow their businesses. And this is why me, Jay, and Liz are here. We provide those resources. I always say that SBDC doesn't have a wrong door policy. It only means that if I cannot help you, I may know someone who will be able to help you go through the process of what you're going through right now. And that's why anything that you're going through as far as the growth of your business, let us know, reach out to me. And if in case I don't have the answer for you, I will definitely help you find the person who will give you that answer, or go through the process, that learning process. You know, every day, to me, each of my client meeting is unique from one another. I thought I know everything, especially when it comes to pre-venture and startup, but it's not. There's always that continuing new changes, new things coming out, and that's fine, that's great. And more so for you, so that I can help you go through that, that pain points, that struggle of growth, or whatever you're going through as far as managing and operating your business. So we don't do the work or make the decision for you. We help you guide through the process. So what we do during our discovery session or our confidential session, again, all our meetings are based on confidentiality, meaning I cannot tell anybody what we talk about unless you give me the permission to talk to anyone that you would like us to talk with, especially bankers. Majority of our owners like, Giselle, can you help me explain to my bank what I'm going through, how's my numbers and stuff like that. We tell them, we educate them of what to tell them. We educate them of how to know their numbers so that they can themselves explain it to the bank. But of course, sometimes during the process, they need some push. So we will be there to help them go through the process. Again, at the end of the day, you as a business owner, you decide. We give you the resources, we give you the option, but you as the business owner, you know what is best for your business. And then we will guide you through the process. So we are a resource for clients to make informed decisions that preserve or create wealth, leading to long-term success and economic growth for all. So this is how we accomplish our mission of providing that small business advising to small business owners. So again, we are at no cost, because why? Why we are no cost? Because we are federally funded. So that means your tax money is paying the program itself. And so the Washington SBD is your resource for expert advising, management training, and market intelligence. So these are just one of those topics that we go over with our clients, small businesses. So we help them with their planning and growing their business, analyzing their financial statement, which is really important for you to grow your business. And also, one of the unique thing about SBDC is we help you do market research. Market research in the sense that it's not just passing it to Jay, which he will explain later why. I always say when it comes to market research, Jay is the man, but we also help you understand what the market is for you. Business system, getting your, and keeping customers, so marketing strategies, that's probably one thing too that everybody's interested. And then cost cutting strategies, your cash, protecting your cash, especially nowadays. That's really important. And finding and keeping qualified employees, which majority of the small business owner, this is one of their growing pains, is finding that qualified employees. So we also provide low or no cost training services. Majority of our workshops, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, are all virtual still right now. So you could access, you could join us through Zoom, and majority of them are recorded as well. So there is an opportunity for you to rewatch them if in case you miss a class that you really wanted to attend. But for now, majority of our workshop or webinars are all no cost. And this is just our data from our last year training. We provided 165 training events and have trained 4,132 small business owners. And this is actually just probably 80% of our staff right now. So these are the business advisors within Washington State. So what is the experience as far as us being an advisor? Majority of us are a small business owner as well, or we have an MBA or anything that's equivalent to that one. And we do have prior consulting or counseling, small business counseling experience on that hand. But majority of us are more of the financial analysis and communication skills. Okay. All of our business advisors went through certification process. So it's not just we are a business advisor, but we have to go through a 6 month. So it's just like going an MBA process as well. So we go through this 6 month learning certification process within the organization before we can actually go out there and advise small business owners. So these are just some of our deliverables. So what does the state or what does our SBA need from us is really more of, having that hours of client counseling, develop and maintain a referral generator, which that's where Lisa will provide you with the Evergreen BizLink, which is phenomenal on its own. And then other informations out there. Okay, now this is our performance from last year. So based on the 2022 demographic, 57% of our clients are all in business. So when you say all in business, so they have been in business for 3 years or more. And then for starting a business, that is within the first 3 years of business. And then the rest are more of pre-venture or nascent. So this is just this is the demographic. This is the industry that we served. And then again, last year, we provided 3,038 advising clients and more than 4,000 training attendees. One thing here is one of the metrics that SBDC measure is our ability to raise new capital. So for 2022, we were able to help small business owner either raise funds through loans, grants, or any other financial means out there. And these are just some of our economic impact. If you work with an SBDC, our average SBDC client have an 11% job growth, which is really high. For those average Washington small business owner, and these are more of those 1 to 10 employees. So we categorize them. It's within the 2.3%. So you could see the difference as far as job growth is concerned of those small businesses who works with SBDC. And very much so as far as sales go. So the small businesses who work with us have a sales growth of 70% compared to an 11% in average business. So it's always nice to work with an advisor. It's more of like your sounding board of whatever you're going through on each different stages of the business itself. So I highly encourage you to go reach out to your local SBDC centers. Again, as I've shown you on the second slide previously, we are located in different cities. And so if you are interested, let me know, and I am more than willing to introduce you to our business advisor in your area. And this is our pride and joy. So whatever pictures you see here after, these are the clients that we work with. So you have here Run Lee, who is a spa owner. And this is James Bay Distillery. Actually, he is one of our clients, and he is actually part of our trade mission in Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan just recently. And so, and this is our pride and joy small business owners that we work with. Mr. Britton is a international counselor as well. Okay. And Ms. Jennifer Walderman is our Small Business Person of the Year for 2023. So with that, I have here our email address and telephone number. If you have any question, I know there's one question in the chat, I'll address that question. Feel free to email us through that washington@wsbdc.org, and I'm more than willing to help you connect with the advisor near you, because I think majority of you are in Seattle, so we do have multiple centers depending on which Seattle area you're at, okay? So Cami, do you want me to respond to the question before I hand it over, or?
I think Lisa and possibly even Jay might have comments on that later, so we can hold questions until the end. I wanted to put that in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so with that, remember I told you a while back, I mean, there's no wrong door policy. If you're looking for resources, this is the man. I said that, the man. So I'm happy to pass the baton to Mr. Jay Lyman of Seattle Public Library.
Thank you, Giselle. It's always a pleasure to work with you. Giselle and I have had so many wonderful opportunities to work together over years, and so it's always a pleasure. Yeah, let me share my screen here because I've got some slides, and we can walk through them and talk about some of the things that that the library can help you out with. So let me do that. Hold on just a moment. You seeing my slides, everyone? Okay, good. So I'm Jay Lyman. I'm with the Seattle Public Library, and I'm here with my librarian hat on, not necessarily my Seattle Public Library hat, like Seattle Public Library librarian hat on. I have both hats on today. So I don't want you to think if I'm in Marysville or if I'm somewhere else, like this isn't going to be relevant to me, because it will, and I'll share why in a few minutes here too. I really loved putting this presentation together. Most of the time, I'm working on presentations that really are contextualized around market research. And we are going to talk about market research because I think it is one of those things that can help you avoid risk. But I loved kind of thinking about this in the context of risk. Like how can the tools that the library offers help you avoid risk in your business? So we're going to talk about those, and I absolutely encourage questions, or and we can save those that conversation towards the end too. And so I look forward to that because questions are what librarians do. We love questions, and that's the core of our work, is helping people find the answers to your questions, whatever those questions might be. Maybe it's like, where do I find a SBDC advisor? Where do I find something? How do I find a list of all the amazing like help that I can get in Washington State? Cut to the chase. That's Lisa. She's gonna go after me. So anyway, so love questions. Let's but we'll save them for the end, and I'll kind of dive through some content that maybe will answer some questions too. So one of the ways that you can avoid risk, one of the services that the library offers that will allow you to like avoid risk are these legal consults that the library offers in partnership with the University of Washington Law School and local attorneys who are volunteering their time. So when I think about avoiding legal risk, you know, I think often people don't know that, you know, that attorneys specialize and they get really specialized. So it's not just a business lawyer. You're talking to a you know, a corporate law lawyer or a real estate law lawyer or an intellectual property law lawyer. So they really specialize into these areas of law, and so it can be very helpful to understand the challenges and the things, the way that these legal topics impact your business. And the best way to learn that is to ask questions. And so since I'm not a lawyer and I don't have expertise in these areas, that's why we're bringing these attorneys to the library to answer your questions. Now, when I say to the library, and we were talking about, like, remember I was talking about like wearing both hats here today. Oops, I didn't mean to go that direction. These are all virtual consultations. You do not need a library card. In fact, we don't even ask that question. You don't even need to. It's better if you do live in the state of Washington, because these are Washington. You know, they're licensed in Washington. But we've had people from other areas of the country ask us, you know, if they can come, and the answer is yes. We put, you know, you are all welcome to come to these. The consults are 30 minutes. The attorneys, like I said, are specialists in each of these like topical areas of law. So tomorrow we have actually 3 open spaces for real estate law. So this is an amazing opportunity to talk with an expert for 30 minutes about real estate law. If you're interested, if that's relevant to you in your situation, please book these because they're we love to see them all happen. They're free. I don't know if I mentioned that. These are all free. They're half hour. They are confidential. And really, when it boils down to like what happens in these, and I've sat in on hundreds of them, it's really an opportunity for you to learn from this expert. You know, they can't form an attorney-client relationship like what would happen if you went out and hired an attorney. If you hired an attorney, they would take on your legal matters, and it becomes their work. That doesn't happen in these consults, but what they can do is they can you can talk with them generally about your situation, and then they'll give you some, you know, general advice about here's how things work. You know, if you're trying to incorporate or you're trying to change from an LLC to a C corp or an S corp or something like you can get into those kind of scenarios, and they'll and they're top of their field kind of experts. Most of them are working in their day jobs at Microsoft, Perkins Coie, or Amazon or Meta or companies like that. So in their day jobs, they're doing this. They love doing these consults because it gives them an opportunity to give back and also to like use their brains in their expertise in a different way. So they really, really love it. So sign up for those. We have the, like I said, there's different flavors, so to speak. And we have all of these, you know, coming up in our calendar. You just sign up online, and it sends you to the Zoom link. And then when it's your time, you log in and talk with the attorney. So that's, you know, one way you can avoid, you know, that legal risk, you know, with your businesses, being informed, understanding what the law is, how it works, and where you might be exposed in that respect. Now, sometimes people walk away from these, discovering like, wow, I really didn't know what I needed was, so complex. I think maybe it is a good idea for me to hire an attorney that can form that attorney-client relationship. And if that's the situation, what I found is some good places to like find that find those attorneys. The bar association, many bar associations have directories or referral services that'll match you up with an attorney. There's some general directories like martindale.com or some like other ones like that, where you can just put in and find attorneys. It's not going to give you like how good they are or bad they are or whatever, but it's going to at least give you like, these are attorneys that practice in this area of law. Communities Rise is another amazing organization that offers legal services. They in the course of that, they do form that attorney-client relationship. So they can take you a little bit further. Or peer referrals is another one. So like, talk to colleagues that might have had a similar situation and find out, who did they work with? Those can actually be like gold. Seeing a question in the chat about where you can sign up for the consults. So I'm going to find that here in the background while I'm talking, and get you that link so you can sign up right now on the fly. So here's the ones. And Giselle beat me to it. So thank you, Giselle. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about legal risk. Another one that I think about, type of risk is financial risk. And for that one, when I put an information lens on, like, how can I avoid financial risk with information tools? What I would say here is that understanding what's normal for your industry can be really amazing. Like, how much money do my peers in this industry spend on advertising as a percentage of sales? Like, that can tell us something, so that kind of like, because then we can understand, how normal is it the amount that I'm spending to like industry wide. Those vary. Like restaurants and things, they're spending, more like 4.5% or so, 4.7% of their net sales on advertising. Manufacturers, typically that's like 0.5% or somewhere even less. It really depends on probably the type, and maybe even over time. But that's because they don't get their sales don't work the same way that they have that other kind of advertising works. And I say all this because we have these kinds of industry norm tools. So those can be really, really useful. And I'll show you some examples here later in the presentation. Forecasts, understanding what's the forecast for your industry, like how, and I'll show you another example of this one too. But that can actually help you prepare for that unexpected, because if you understand what are analysts predicting for your industry over the next 5 years, you can start to see like, oh, maybe I need to tighten things down, and maybe it's not a good time for that expansion, or maybe it really is a good time for that expansion. Don't know, but having the information to make that a decision, an informed decision, it can be like can help you avoid a lot of risk in that way. And then I always encourage people in those legal consults are an example of this, of making connections with professionals, insurance professionals, banking professionals, mentors like Giselle mentioned. Like, all of those things can take you so far into avoiding risk, because then you have somebody else's perspective, whether or not you're in charge, of course, but having that other human to bounce that idea off of, or bounce that situation off of, can take you a long ways with avoiding risk. Another type of avoiding risk that we have coming up at the library tomorrow, we have a wonderful presenter. Her name is Tiara Bonds. I've gotten to work with her a number of times, and she's going to be talking about personal and business credit. So she's giving a workshop tomorrow on this. It's free, just like the consults. Even if you're not going to come to it and you want to watch it afterwards, sign up anyway, because I will then send you the link to the recording afterwards, the raw recording. We then are going to take that raw recording. The library does a little like post-production where we add captioning, human captioning, because for equity purposes, we do that. And then we also like adjust sound, all that kind of stuff. Takes us a while to do that. So if you sign up, I'll send you the raw footage, a link to that afterwards, and you can watch it right away. Also, just like we have with the legal consults, you can sign up for 30 minutes of Tiara's time, which is amazing because she can help you in a one-to-one manner and like really look at really look at your situation with your credit. And she can say like, hey, these are 3 things you can do to bring that score up, and I've watched Tiara do this magic, and it is magic. And I'm just so impressed. And also like, it's not intuitive. Like I would not have thought, you have to be somebody who understands all of how it works. And Tiara is somebody like that. So she can take you so far with all those. Those are also free. They are also confidential, 30 minutes. And we have them over the next, I think we have 14 spots. So sign up, take them. We want you to get that time with Tiara. Another kind of way to avoid financial risk, having a business plan. This sounds a little cliche maybe or something, but getting a business plan together and then updating your plan so that it's a real like living document can be huge. And getting help from mentors. I had that in the last slide, but I'm reiterating it here because SCORE, SBDC, Ventures, Business Impact Northwest, these are all free services that you can explore and use, free mentorship. I will also say, so the mentors will help you like put that plan together and like look it over with you and like poke holes in it and things. But in terms of like kind of sometimes it helps to look at an example. Like when I'm trying to write something, like it always helps me to look at something that somebody else has done that's similar. And we have a tool called Business Plans Handbook that allows you to go in and find a business plan for a similar company as yours. They won't have every kind of company, but they have a lot. And so you can look at it and you can see, here's the tone, and here's what they put in the executive summary. They put a chart here. Like it gives you a sense of like how complex the thing is. And what I really like about those is that they're real plans, and some of them are like really much more lengthy, and some of them are pretty short. So you can look at it and go, wow, I can do that. That doesn't seem like impossible. And so you can get a sense of what goes into that plan. And then, of course, SCORE also has these amazing templates that are more like fill in the blank kind of examples. So you just go through and it has this series of prompts. And I like that for formatting and that kind of thing and structure of the plan. Okay, and so just switching gears to like, market research tools. Business planning is about data. Data is at the heart of telling your story of how your business is successful in the future, or how your business is pivoting because something happened, like a pandemic. so like, and we saw lots of that when that was happening. Data can help you avoid that risk, in the moment or before, so you can sort of like, model what you think the thing will look like, after you've added this new service or whatever it is. So it can help you understand, how your business fits together. And what I really think about when it comes to market research and business planning, it's really a mental thing. It's about like thinking through what it will look like. It's not so much that physical plan. It is the physical plan, but even more important, it's that like the thoughtful going through, thinking about what this thing will look like, and that thought process that walks you through all those kind of questions. And I've seen it in real time where people like are doing that and actively getting data and then adjusting the plan because they're realizing, oh wait, that doesn't work so well. Maybe I need to like back that up a little bit. So like all of that together is a huge way of avoiding risk. So the library can help with market research. So one of the things that the library does, in addition to the things we just talked about, is that we buy tools that you can use. So of course, when you think of libraries, you think of books. And I got into this business honestly because I loved books, and we still have them. They're still around. But I will say that most of the market research tools that we have are electronic. That's just how they're published. So there are still some print resources that we'll run to and go and find some of those ratios or whatever it might be. But a lot of the things that we're finding are electronic. That's also good because you can use it from outside the library. We also have like subscriptions to learning kinds of tools like LinkedIn Learning, other kinds of media. We have a lot of different kinds of things that you can explore. And a good way to get started with that is make some time, put some time on our calendar, on my calendar or my colleagues. I have 10 colleagues that are also on my team that take appointments with you. So you can sign up for their time and dive in here 1 hour at a time. You can book another one after that. It's the beginning, not the end. We'll help you figure out which of these tools are going to work best for you, because we have so many that it's hard to understand which ones. If you just go in and start doing it, you can get lost pretty easily. And believe me, I've gotten lost many, many times. So that's how I learned it, is by hitting my head into that brick wall over and over again. So we want to help you avoid that. How you do that, if you sign up, we have a booking tool. It's on that same page similar page where Giselle put the link to the legal consults. But if none of the times work, I encourage you reach out to me or the whole team at l2b@spl.org. That's probably the best one. And just let us know, like, hey, none of those times work for me, or you're booked out a month or whatever. Do write to us, because I will find some time and figure out what will figure out some time that works for both of us. We do have some tools that help you extrapolate and synthesize census data. So I actually have some screenshots of one of those here in a minute. So I'll share that. Oh, and then a note about the tools themselves. So the tools themselves are something that, like, where you are matters. So all that other stuff that we were talking about, the appointments, the consults, Tiara's time, we're not even asking whether you're a Seattle resident or anything like that. No library card required. But these tools are things that the library buys on your behalf. So we actually have a license to use them from some other vendor. So for that, it does matter, because they sell it to us with the understanding that we're going to let those that have a Seattle Public Library card use them. But we have reciprocal agreements between library systems nearby. So if you live in Pierce County, you can get a Seattle Public Library card. You live in Snow Isle, you can get a Seattle Public Library card. If you live in Seattle, you can get a Snow Isle card. They can get so we have these reciprocal agreements. They don't extend across the whole state. I wish they did, but they do extend to, I think, most of the places that I saw listed, except maybe Leavenworth. Unfortunately, I don't think it goes that far, but there might be reciprocal agreements Leavenworth eastward. I don't know. We'd have to look at the specifics of the library system. It's system to system that makes those kinds of agreements. But worst case scenario, and I don't like to point this one out because I don't want anyone to have to pay money. A worst case scenario, you can buy a public library card. Anyone in the state of Washington could buy a public library card, and it's like I think ours are $85 per year. So, and then you'd have access to all those tools. So if none of those reciprocal agreements work and you have no other solution, might be worth exploring that. But I will say, here's another thing. Spokane Public Library has a better collection than I have. So they have an amazing collection, and they only charge $65. So which one are you going to do? So, even if you didn't have that like free reciprocal agreement, which I hope that you would have, you could pay $65, get a Spokane Public Library card, or drive over to the lovely Spokane Public Library and use the tools on site. You don't have to have a library card to do that. So there you go. And Giselle has 4 library cards. I love that. Okay, so we talked about this, and it's based like where you live, work, or go to school, or on these reciprocal agreements. So, when we talk about market research, I think about 3 kinds of questions that people ask me. Who's my competition? What I want to know about other companies. And maybe I'm trying to find other companies because they're potential clients of mine. Who's my competitors, or who's my customers, or what are the trends happening in my market? So those 3 questions are asked in different ways over and over again. And those 3 things help me understand, like, okay, which tools am I going to go to? Is this a question about other customers? Is this a question about companies or market trends? The customers part, if you're business to business, that's where it differentiates. If you're business to business, well, then we're talking about information about other companies. If you're business to consumer, well, now we're talking about like demographics of who lives in an area and like how much money they spend and stuff. So those are some typical kinds of questions. And I think of those questions kind of all coming together to tell that story of viability. The star in the center is viability. Customers, I intentionally made that arrow big and coming close to the star because that's the most important question. And competition, well, that barely like scratches the edge of that circle. Trends, it's kind of coming further. Anyway, you get the idea. And here we go. Here's my dog. This is Socks. So Socks is in the presentation because we can all say like, oh, she's so cute. And she is so cute. She's now an older dog, but Socks is also in the presentation, not only because she's cute, but also because this is a good example of a market trend. Americans spend, in 2022, pet spending for Halloween was $710 million. Wow, that's a lot of money that people are spending. In 2021, 1 out of 5 people who celebrated Halloween were going to dress their pets up in costume. That's a lot. And the other thing to think about here is like, look at how these things are phrased. Like all those things are like pointing at the star of viability, right? But they're all phrased in slightly different ways. And so that's something to think about and to pay attention to as you're doing market research, is that sometimes the information that we are expecting to find, we expect to see it in one form, like the top one, like nice market size, $350 million. But then we get these like 2022. Well, that's pet spending. It's not necessarily costumes, but it's probably mostly costumes, but maybe it's 2 toys or something too. But anyway, I put this in here because it's a good example, and it's a lot of fun, I think, too. And National Retail Federation is the data source here. And they also tell us like every year, like what's the top types of costumes for pets. So pumpkins are trending high, hot dogs popped up here, and then bumblebees and witches are 3%. So, and then there's Socks down there at the bottom with her Darth Vader hoodie. And I think this also tells a story too of like, who is the customer here? Is Socks the customer? No, she's not the customer, and she's not happy about it at all. Am I the customer? Maybe, because I'm the one who bought the thing. But would I have bought it if my kids hadn't been in the store with me saying, Dad, we need the Darth Vader hoodie for socks? Probably not. So think about that whole customer and thinking about, what they like and don't like and all that kind of thing. And then, markets and industries, industries are really well defined, and markets are more nebulous. So industries have these classifications, and librarians like classifications, right? So classifications are these NAICS codes. I don't know if you've heard about these before or not, but essentially these are the headings in the yellow pages. If you open up an old phone book and you page through to pet supply stores or to hardware stores or whatever it might be, that's literally what those are. And those are well defined, whereas markets, that's our, if we're thinking about the pet costume thing, pet costumes are a subset of the pet and pet supply stores. They're in there, but they're a percentage of that. And we don't. The reason that this can be helpful is that it's a shortcut to information. So we can find the stuff that we found in the National Retail Federation, but if we need more, sometimes it helps to back up to that larger industry, and then we'll find a lot more about pet and pet supply stores. These are just a couple examples of types of databases that the library subscribe to. This one called Data Axle. Many libraries across the state of Washington subscribe to this, and it's a wonderful place for us to go and ask questions like, show me the used goods companies in King County. And so this is a little search that I did and found these, and this is just like a screenshot of the ones that popped up in the screen. Sometimes we have to figure out what is the NAICS code. Sometimes there's more than one code. That's where it gets complex. Book time with us. We'll help with that. so we'll help you work through all of those things. So that's that, other information about other companies. Now, this is the one that we were talking about earlier, that synthesizing and census data. This one called Demographics Now, amazing. It's my favorite database. It really, really does a lot of stuff. So here, in preparation for this, I did a little average spending on vehicle or engine repair. And look at what I found. Nationally, households spend $221 on vehicle or engine repair. Now we like to get as close as we can, but or maybe we want to be more broader. But so that's another thing that we have to think about, and another place we can help. But in the Central District of Seattle, they're spending $323 on that. It's Seattle-wide, $364, and Mercer Island spending $400. So you can start to see really some pretty big differences in spending on different kinds of services. So in this case, it was repair of engines. But we could look and see, how close can we get for your industry. I helped with someone with piano tuning recently, and we found piano repair and services. So we can sometimes we can get pretty close. Other times we have to back up to a larger bucket. Another type of information that's in there that is based on census data, but takes into consideration a whole bunch of other things, are these lifestyle segments. So this really can be helpful for marketing purposes, because we can start to understand which channels does this lifestyle segment subscribe to, which ones are compelling. So in this case, for the cosmopolitan achievers, I'm seeing a high value there for TV or all things, YouTube, anything that's like visual kind of content, video content. Or text messaging is another high one. Radio or all things audio, podcasts, not so much. That one's a low number there. But this can start to help us understand not only which channels should we be using to reach these customers, but but also like, how do we talk to them? So these are, soccer fans. Like what kind of marketing is going to be appealing for these these folks? So you can start to understand, how do I message them that's going to be appealing, and then also like, where am I going to put that message too? And what's really great about this is that I can also, not only is this, can I do this, but I can do this locally. So here's a similar graph of cosmopolitan achievers. I chose them because there's 65,000 people in Seattle, or 8.92%, that are in there as cosmopolitan achievers. Where does that data come from? It comes from Experian, the credit monitoring company. So who knew that they were doing this as well? And then I mentioned forecasts. One of the this is an interesting set of forecasts, but these are industry reports. So I looked at retail forecast and then compared that to the used merchandise forecast. And these are interesting graphs, but you also have to look at graphs and look at statistics, with a grain of salt, and also look at them very carefully, because they're a little. If you look at that 2022 retail forecast, that's like way high, but the used merchandise one was way even higher. So it's exaggerating. It looks like 2023 is less for used merchandise, but it's that exaggerated 14%, which is like, it's actually higher at 3.8% than the retail forecast. So the new goods, so I'm just comparing like new goods versus used goods here, and seeing the different differences in what they expect over 5 years. These forecasts do change, just like the weather forecast. As we get closer, new information is coming out. And these reports, they're called first research reports. They don't just give us the forecast. They also then break into like why they think that. So they'll go through like, kind of SWOT analysis, the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. It'll go through and tell us like what, why they think that kind of thing. Okay. And then I won't spend a lot of time on this. I just want to say, we're talking about secondary research when we're talking about this kind of research. Sometimes, always it can be helpful to go out and talk to your customers as well. So don't overlook the primary research part of things. But secondary research can help you understand what questions should I ask as well too. I talked about business plans handbooks, but here's an example of a piano tuning, repair, and restoration service. I just pulled out the top part of that executive summary so you could see it there. This is another one called Best Customers, so you can start to understand spending by demographic. So there's a lot in there. I'm going to go. I'm going to go kind of fast because I want to get to time for questions and conversation here. Business ratios, we talked about those. Those are those norms when we were talking about at the beginning. And we have these through a couple of tools. These are ones, get that SBDC mentor to help you out with these, and have a strong cup of coffee first, because there's so many little details here. Look at these things. Thank you. Your eyes will go crossed, looking at these too long. And then trade associations, sometimes those can be a great data source in local publications. For some harder industries, which I suspect, when we're talking about harder to research industries, we're talking about like repair and used merchandise and those kinds of things. Those may be more challenging industries to research. We certainly have some tools, but in those kind of cases, I start to look at some of these other tricks. Google Scholar. Sometimes there's surprising scholarly articles that pop up in there, and they would have been on page 1,252,000 of the regular Google search. But Google Scholar puts them right to the surface because we're searching within just that set of things. Google advanced searches can be quite good too, so you can like find the trade association's website, and maybe their search tools aren't very good or their navigation, but I can just search their site and then find like reports that maybe are just sort of, buried on their website or something. And I'm always surprised at what I can find on a trade association's website for free. Talked about LinkedIn Learning, but here's a screenshot of some services there. And then I also want to mention these recorded workshops, because I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but we have been working with some amazing presenters like Tierra Bonds, who's going to talk tomorrow, but also with Michael Coffey and with and just a number of people, Andrew Powers. These are all like local businesses themselves who are presenting on these topics, and they've just really done an amazing job. And where we can, we try to record those and then put them out on the website so that you can watch them after the fact. And so we're building up a set of those. And then I think this is a good moment to pass over to Lisa, because I'm talking about resource connections, and then I'm just going to end right here with this this slide, which is like, you can forget everything I just said, book one of these appointments, and we'll walk through what's relevant for you. Just do it. Yes. All right, Lisa, over to you.
Wow. Well, thank you, Jay, and thank you, Giselle. I hope you're all with us. I'm assuming you're all connected. My name is Lisa Smith, and I'm the Executive Director of the Washington State Microenterprise Association. And why I'm so excited about this work is because when small businesses like yours have the resources they need, you grow. And when you grow, you hire people. And when you hire people, you have more taxes for the community and you have more prosperous communities. And so it's all a kind of a circular, virtuous cycle. But first of all, I want to say thank you to Zero Waste for inviting me and us. I wanted to say hats off to Jay and Giselle, because every single community has a library. Most every community has a library. And we have found that librarians are like your best friend when it comes to growing your business, because they have at the tip of their fingers resources that'll help you. And they're in almost every community. And they also have Ask the Librarian. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but you can ask any question and frickin' they will give you the answer, or they'll send you an email. It's like incredible. So librarians are like our friend when it comes to business. And the shout out to Giselle and all of the small business development centers around the state. Our work would not be possible without them. So hats off to you. And then to you incredible people who are repair and reuse. Like, I am so impressed with you that you are figuring out how not just to have a business, not just to do good, but also help the planet. And that is an unusual combination, that you have a vision and excitement and joy to get this work done is incredible. And so I just want to, take my hat off to you, because in this disposable economy, in this economy where companies build their products so they will die and you have to buy another one, that it is just not sustainable. And that you have a vision to reuse and reorganize and reconnect these products for new uses is lovely. So, I'm in awe. Okay. So one thing I want to say about reducing risk before I go into just showing you about Evergreen BizLink is that, like both Giselle and Jay said, if you have a handle on your business, if you know the products or services you're providing, you're intimate with them, if you're planning, if you're really thinking about how much it costs to make the product or service, how much you're going to sell it, who your market is, how are you managing cash flowing in to your business and cash flowing out, you are going to be doing the most you can do about managing risk, because your finger is going to be on the pulse of the health of your business. And that's like, it's golden. So like tracking your expenses is so big, and tracking your inflow of funds, because that helps you with your taxes. It helps you plan, it helps you see and understand cash flow projections. So you know the health of your business at any one time. I mean, that is, all those are just like super helpful. And then I just want to say one other really incredibly important piece, and that's contingency planning. And Giselle and all those advisors around the state will talk to you about it. But what you want to do is just understand your business when it's operating optimally. No problems, things are moving along. But what happens if one of your suppliers goes out of business? Or what happens if there's a big windstorm or a fire and you can't run your business for 2 or 3 months? How are you going to plan for that? And thinking through what those options are before it happens, having a plan for it. Oh my gosh. I know of businesses who are really small, but had a plan. When the pandemic came, they shape-shifted, they were agile, they were nimble, they figured it out because they had already kind of thought through what might happen if something happened. And so they figured it out. So I'm just planting a seed. Okay, one more quick thing. When it comes really to also understanding risk is how you're set up. Are you an LLC, a limited liability company? Are you a partnership? Are you a sole proprietor? Because that can help kind of manage your risk. And then if you're not one of those, do you have enough insurance coverage so that if there's a problem or an issue, you've got the coverage you need to protect yourself and your company? Okay, that's just the few things I wanted to share. But one other really cool thing is, if you don't know where to reach out, if you're in Leavenworth or you're in the Olympic Peninsula in Port Angeles, and you don't know what the resources are, there is a resource, and that's Evergreen BizLink. And so I'm just going to start with three slides just to begin. The first one is just Evergreen BizLink, and I'll put the link in the chat in a bit. But and I think I don't know if you can go to slideshow. If you can't, that's okay. Yeah, there. Thank you, Giselle. And you don't have to go to the link right now because it'll just be confusing. But Evergreen BizLink is here for businesses. We want you to be within a click of a button to be able to access the connections that are around the state. And our association has met with all of these amazing nonprofits, walked with them so that they know and we know and you know what it is they're offering. You can go to the next slide. So this is free for you as a small business. And what we want you to do is be able to find the right connections. If you're a veteran-owned business, we want you to find the nonprofits that are helping veterans. Or if you're a woman of color who's a farmer in Yakima, we want you to be able to find ag-specific nonprofits that'll help you with your farm-based enterprise. Or if you want understanding about microloans, we want you to be able to find those microlenders who are going to help you figure out if you need financing, you may not, or how to prepare for financing. So Evergreen BizLink is a place you can go right now and put in information that helps you touch, connect with, and engage at your fingertips this dynamic web of directory of service providers. And you can go there on the navigator. So when you go to Evergreen BizLink, up at the top, there's a little link, a drop down that says resources. And on there is a navigator. And you can go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Before you go there, I just want to say that if you go to the next slide where our partners are, this project would not have been possible without our statewide partners. And that includes Giselle's Washington State SBDC. You can go to the next slide. Yep. And the Washington Department of Commerce and the SBA and the Minority business agency, WEDA, the Washington Economic Development Association, Main Street. All of these partners are like the key entities that helped our association get started. And then if you skip ahead and go to slide number 11, I'll just walk through a little bit of what you'll see when you go to the website. So Governor Jay Inslee put on a welcome for us. Director Brown, who has now moved on, and Mike Fong, all at the SBA in the olden days, a couple of months ago, they all did a welcome because they want you to know that they trust and want you to use Evergreen BizLink. And so you on the right here, you can see this navigator. Do you see where it says connect to resources? Well, this is where you just put in your zip code, what kind of assistance you need, what kind of industry you're in. Maybe if you maybe are a Spanish language speaker and you want all your resources or the business support that you want in Spanish, there's a way to link to Spanish language resources or business technical assistance in Korean or in French. So we want you to be able to find the resources you need. And then up will come, when you put all those in, you click that button, there will be 4 to 6 nonprofit, public, or academic partners that'll be there for you. You can go to the next slide. So here's an example. These are just some of the nonprofit partners that'll come up. One is the Big Hug works with Korean-based businesses. Beacon Alliance, which is Business Alliance, which is a great partner of ours, works in Seattle. Black Dot primarily works with Black-owned businesses, but we have over 90 nonprofit, public or academic partners that will help you in your business, which is incredible. You can go to the next slide. So here's what you do. You go to Evergreen BizLink. If you want to reach me, you can send me an email, lisa@wamicrobiz.org. You can check us out on social media. But mostly what I want you to do is go play around. Go check it out. Put in different kind of questions. And I don't know if you can go back to the slide where the front page is, but at the top, there are these drop-down boxes. You know, it says startup, growth, funding, resources. Each one of those has a drop-down that has resources on microlenders, on how to grow your business. What about finding and hiring staff? All of these resources are there at your fingertips. And so what we want you to do is use that. If you have any questions, you can reach me. And mainly, I want you to know that every business needs to be a circular business at some level so that our planet will survive and so that we will survive. And so I can't thank you enough for having the kind of businesses that you have in this state. And please feel free to call me if that's something you want to do in the future. I think you can go to one more slide, which is a thank you slide. Yes. And that's the end of my presentation. And I'm very glad to answer questions if they arise. Now it's up to you, Cammie.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So maybe we can go back to the question I posed earlier about what you all are seeing as far as funding coming through for grants for businesses specifically. How has that changed? What was it like maybe pre-pandemic versus now? And whoever wants to tackle it first, go for it.
Well, I could just jump in really quickly and say that during the pandemic, there was more funding for businesses as grants that you don't have to pay back than ever I have ever seen in all of my history in working with businesses. And that was really imperative because it helped businesses stay afloat. There are a couple in King County now. There's the community reinvestment that's going to be coming out soon. That's really focused on helping create parity and equity. But I don't have information about it yet. But what I know is if you're connected with your banker. That's one thing. If you don't have a banker, you need a good banker and a good lawyer. And they will hopefully help you along that path. And if you don't have a business advisor, if you're not connected with an SBDC advisor, go get one because they're free. And they usually are on top of any new grants that come out for businesses. And if you don't have a library card and you're not connected with Jay Lyman, well, you're missing out. That's all I have to say.
That is a hard act to follow, always, Lisa. But as far as grant is concerned, Lisa is right there. During the pandemic, there are so many grants out there. Even the reporting side, because majority of the grants pre-pandemic, it requires a ton of reporting on how you use the funds. That has been eliminated for the past 2-3 years or so. But one thing for sure, though, is there are still grants trickling around. And that's one thing. Lisa is right. You always have to have your ear in the ground, sort of. If you don't have, at least have the people that you want, that you're working with. So Lisa was right, banker and lawyer. One more thing that you might want to interested to get one is also your accountant. Make friends with your accountant. I know during tax season, they might be your worst enemy or something like that. But you know what? They can be your first source of information as well, because they know these things. And also majority of the grants right now are asking of where is your tax return? Where is your profit and loss statement from the previous year or something like that? So again, if you don't have one, it's fine. As long as you know the numbers, you know where to get those information, it's a-okay. But at least have someone that you could actually call on or have that informal conversation with about the business that you feel comfortable talking to, aside from a business advisor. That's what we're here for. I always tell Lisa and Jay, like, business advisor is kind of, you know, bringing our own pom-poms and cheering you on. That's kind of our role here. We want you to be successful, and that's why we always kind of help each other. One thing too is I really wanted to do this. I'm sorry, Cami, but I really want to do this. So this is Lisa's live website, and this is where you get all those resources. You know, when you're talking about funds, when you're talking, it always the first thing that comes to mind is always bank. But then again, there are other forms of funding that you could get. And this is a good place for you to start, if in case you are on that, you know, that end of, you know, looking for financing to either use for the operation of the business or growing the business as well. So these are your first step, actually.
You did that better than I did.
The other thing I'll say about grants is that as they pop up, it's the whack-a-mole game. There's one, boom, it's gone. You know, there's one, there it's gone. You know, so they come up and then they're gone. They're also like contextualized, you know, sometimes within like for one specific community or one people who have business in a certain geography, or so you have to just be kind of, and there's not a one-stop shopping place to find these. The best place to hear about grants is sign up for the Black-owned Business Excellence Google group. Because when I first hear about a grant for a for-profit business, it's usually there. So sign up. We can put the link to where you can sign up for that Google group. But that seems to be the best place for local grants that I've seen.
Yeah, if you want to be included on that list, email me and I can add you on that list.
Yeah, I would also just say that there are other kind of unconventional, weird ways of finding opportunities for financing. One is check out business competitions. Like when actually there's the Supernova competition, which looks at rural businesses all over the state and builds that competition where they win actual cash. Or there's several competitions where cash is available. So consider competing. Another one is local investment networks. Although we don't have very many, Port Townsend has Lyman, the local investment opportunity network. Down in Cowlitz County, they have the lower Cowlitz-Wahkiakum Council of Governments. Go watch you try to say that out loud. But they're local investors working to help fund local businesses. So there's another. Also consider microloans. I mean, credit unions sometimes are a great place to go for accessing credit. Sometimes just on a credit card is the way most businesses can go because they can't access conventional financing. But Department of Commerce also has a resource for grants and loans, and you can usually find them as well. And I can put a link in there as well. But just, sometimes we think I need financing or I need, but you also need to really pay attention to what kind of financing, because it could be that you have a loan that you have to pay back, and that's going to be expensive. So some businesses try to bootstrap and make sure that they can cover all their costs and go slowly. And some do it in a much quicker way. You just have to pay attention to what's going to be best for your business.
In addition to that, a lot of colleges actually and university do pitch competition. But then again, I want to backtrack on that one. What Jay have mentioned a while back is if you're doing pitch competition, that's where your business plan will really help you, because that's the foundation of your pitch that you will be using for all of this competition. That's the only thing I want to add. Yeah, because Seattle University just had one. I know Washington State University Everett have one. Usually it's in the fall, so it's coming. Especially for those who are in the Seattle area. I think Foster School of Business have one as well. So again, it's some universities and colleges have this type of opportunity for community members.
Yeah, and in any event, in whether you go to a bank or a microlender or to a local investment network or to a pitch competition, you're gonna have to have your house in order. And if you can have your personal house in order, like how are you taking care of your personal finances, like your personal debt or your personal income. Like if you have your personal house in order, it's going to be easier to keep your business house in order. And if you work on your business plan and your cash flow projections and understand the in and out of your flow of money, and you're doing your taxes, and then you can build your financial statements and you can tell your story. And your stories are pretty compelling because you have the story of business and the planet and the community. Then you're further along than so many other businesses. So yeah, you have a lot of resources. Reach out, let us know if there's any way we can support you. And yeah, that would be my answer.
Great. If there are any questions, feel free to add them to the chat. Let's see.
And thank you, Cami, for putting on the link to a recent program we worked on with rural communities and local investment networks called Keeping Rural on the Radar. Just a way you can learn about different programs around the state. Does anybody else have any questions?
I did want to touch on some things, sort of teeing up our next session, which is going to be around recruitment. And we're going to be talking about sort of, well, the title is Rethinking Recruitment. So I think it's become pretty clear to folks that we can't do things the way that we got used to doing them back in the day. Oh, Nancy, I see your hand. Just 1 second. But actually, no, we'll come back to me. Nancy, you go.
I could wait. That's fine.
Your
Do you want me to wait?
No, go for it.
Okay. So we are exploring the idea of having a reuse store on Vashon. And we learned that in a warehouse space where many of these reuse stores kind of end up being somewhere fairly casual, right? That if it's to be a store, that there are requirements in terms of like fire sprinklers and running water for bathrooms. And so we just sort of heard that mentioned. What would be a good resource to learn more about the requirements for, having a small business in a fairly casual space? Because it might pertain to some of the other folks on this call as well.
So, well, I'm going to piggyback on my SBDC advisor. That's a nice thing of working with your local SBDC advisor, is because they know which agency or city department that you might want to talk to or work with, especially figuring out what are the permits and licensing that you need. So if it's a warehouse, it's going to be a special use on your end, but because it's not a warehouse, it's not a place for you to store, but it's a retail end side. So there are certain building codes that you have to follow for you to become a retail on a special use facility. So again, working with your local business advisor will really help you kind of hone, because each city, each county have different laws or building codes and permits. And that's my first suggestion to you. And I can connect you either with SCORE or SBDC or with the WBC, the Women's Business Center, help you navigate through the process of identifying what is the need.
Okay, that would be great. I can reach out.
I was going to add,
you.
I think it's possible that the real estate law consults tomorrow might be useful for you as well. If you have questions about like what should go into the contract, how does the space, all those kind of like legal questions around real estate, and the attorneys that are helping tomorrow are experts in that kind of field, commercial real estate.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that one. I'm sorry, Nancy.
Sure.
Yes, Jay is right there. So one thing about SBDC Business Advisor is we are not just logistically located near you, but sometimes our business advisor, the business advisor that will be assigned to you, could either be based on your business need, just like that, reviewing contracts. We do have some broker advisor in our end that can help you, but it's always nice to team up with a lawyer, just because our advisor will tell you what are the things that you can negotiate, what are the things that you can ask, especially if you have to do some tenant improvements. That's an expensive side on your end, just to make that warehouse be a retail and retail business. And then that's where the real estate lawyer can help you. How are you going to draw that? How can you do the negotiations and stuff like that? So again, it's a team of resources. At the end of the day, all of this information, it's like a puzzle. We provide you one piece, Jay will provide you one piece, you put them all together, and it will have that overall picture of what it really looks like and what you need to do as a plan.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I don't know if we can do the tomorrow thing, but I noticed that you have some appointments, real estate appointments on your calendar for July. So that might be a better fit, and we'll be further along in our thought process by then too. So these are great resources. Thank you. Look forward to taking advantage of them.
Thank you.
So yes, I'll come back quickly to sort of the segue into our next session, which will be around recruitment. And this may be most relevant for Giselle, talking about what are some of the resources that SBDC has for helping with employment, because what we've heard from a lot of businesses right now is we can't find folks. We can't find folks that are already skilled, or that fit our traditional profiles of who would be like a relevant employee. So we're going to dive into some of, like, deconstructing some of those assumptions and rethinking where folks can go to do outreach, and rethinking about their messaging for outreach. But how could SBDC be a resource for them?
Yeah, so we do have advisors who are an expert when it comes to HR, recruitment, retention, and stuff like that. So just envision this one. So if you are in Marysville, you will be working with me, but HR financing is my expertise. I used to be a lender, but HR is not my expertise. So imagine this: you are in a round table with a group of people, with a group of advisors who, if you have any question when it comes to HR, we have a person for you who can do co-advising with me. If you're into that real estate, finding a location, having some lease problem, trying to negotiate your lease contract or anything like that, I have an advisor for you that could sit with us. So it's not just me the whole time. It could be 3, 2, or even 4 business advisor who you will be meeting and discussing your business needs. Because sometimes it's kind of correlating with each other. Like if you're planning to hire, again, what Lisa have mentioned a while back, personal inventory. Are you financially ready to hire that a new person? What are the responsibility if you're hiring a full-time, a part-time, youth? Because there are different laws in that one. And that's what we're trying to help you understand, is if there's a need, here's your responsibility. Here are your state and federal obligation when it comes to hiring these people. Navigating the employment world, that's where we're here for. We can help you with that one. Again, personal inventory. Are you equipped to be able to do that? It's not just because there's so much work that you really need one, but then again, if you're cash strapped, how are you going to pay for your employees? If you cannot pay your employees, how can you retain them? And what are those offerings? So again, looking into your household first, just like what Lisa have mentioned, before inviting people to come in. We are good in narratives today.
I so appreciate you, Giselle, and just that notion of being able to manage your decision-making around hiring. There's once you hire somebody, how do you make sure they've got good benefits and good personnel policies, and managing whether you can actually pay them over time, how to understand your cash flow projections so you can. But their other one is like, how do you find the employees? So every community has a workforce office. Every community has one, I think, or close, something nearby. And you can go there and ask them, look, I'm looking for these kinds of employees. And they will do some connecting. There's for-profit companies like Express Employment, and they will help you find employees for your businesses. But really, you need to, like Giselle mentioned, really understand the long-term impact of hiring an employee. Another option is maybe you want to hire an independent consultant or a contractor to do a very specific kind of work that you kind of have hands off. You're not paying their FICA or withholding, but they're doing the work for you, and it's a little bit less risk because it's a finite amount of work for a finite amount of time. But man, it's a slippery slope. And so you got to be really, really careful. Look, I hear them and see them laughing. But anyway, it's really, it's doable, but challenging. Go for it, Heather.
So this is a question I think both for Giselle and Jay. Very exciting that Nancy, I'm thrilled, Nancy, that you're thinking about doing a reuse store in Vashon. That is so cool. So the question is, if you're a nonprofit, which they are, if they want to do a store, I'm assuming, but the question is, are there different laws that apply to them than a regular for-profit business if it's a nonprofit business?
I don't think so.
Okay.
When it comes to finding a location or anything like that.
Permits, taxes.
Permits, well, taxes, there might be some just because of on the federal end, not on the state end. The federal, that might be a different story when it comes to taxes. But when it comes to building permit and codes, I think there's no statutory when it given to 501c3 or a nonprofit organization per se.
And what about B&O taxes?
Yeah, that also depends. Again, this is where you want to have a lawyer in your pocket. If you're a nonprofit and you're hiring employees, you have to do the same kind of due diligence business when it comes to FICA withholding. And you have to behave in the same way when it comes to labor and industries, whether it's an independent contractor or an employee. So you just want to make sure you're happy.
Okay. I was just wondering about the things that are like really businessy things, like those things. But yeah, this sounds good. Sounds like one must be careful and do their due diligence.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But one important factor kind of ties us back to that grant feature. As a 501c3, you can accept grants from foundations, which for-profits can't. And the library has a database called Foundation Directory that you can use to find it maps the universe of giving from foundations to nonprofits. So you can go in there and see like what kind of grant, who has funded who, and in what amounts and over time. So if you're interested in that, it's another one. Make an appointment with me or my colleagues. Make sure it says business or nonprofit in there, because there's only a few of us that do the nonprofit part of it. And we can show you how to use that tool. There's one up in Marysville, and there's one at Seattle, and there's one in Redmond. And so you have to go to these, for that one, it works differently where you have to go into the location to do the search. But Central Library, yeah, Marysville, I think there's a new one in Federal Way. I've just heard about that. So that's a cool new thing. I just heard about it. I don't think it's on the Foundation Director website yet even. Yeah,
I just want to add something, and I think Heather mentioned this. Unfortunately, this is kind of like the bad news of all bad news, right? I've said all the good things about SBDC, but I forgot to mention this important thing. So unfortunately, SBDC only caters for-profit business. So when it comes to nonprofit organization, usually there are some limitations. I mean, during the pandemic, there was a crossover between for-profit and nonprofit just because of the PPP and the EIDL. And so that's where we kind of dip our fingers when it comes to nonprofit organization. But if it's more of the management of nonprofit organization, or kind of like, doing the whole thing nonprofit wise, usually I refer them to 501 Commons. And Jay have worked with them. They're based in Seattle, and they're like SBDC. It's just that their focus is really for nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, and I would just also add the Nonprofit Association of Washington. They do really good work on helping nonprofits get started, their governance, management. They have a whole resource of different videos that help nonprofits be strong. So that might be another place to look. NAWA, nonprofit. There's 501 Commons, and then Washington Nonprofit Association of Washington. Sorry, they just changed their name.
Yeah, and what Jay mentioned a while back, Community Rise, specifically for nonprofit organization, legal aspect, that's where they kind of rise to the occasion.
Oh yeah, Communities Rise is so awesome, both for businesses and for nonprofits.
Yep. True.
Incredible resource.
if you look at that link that I put on there about nonprofits, we have a list of all of those, as well as other. My colleague Lindy is amazing, and she's put together lists of like nonprofit help that includes all of those, plus some like specific links to things on the 501 Commons website. Also, the Secretary of State's office has a really comprehensive guide, or they have guides to starting and growing nonprofits in Washington too. So there's assistance out there. But I think Giselle is spot on. Like there's this differentiation, like even within, like what I said with the librarians, like there's some of us that do both nonprofit and for-profit, and then there's some of us that only do for-profit. So there's this differentiation that starts to happen, I think, with services across that. Good questions.
If no one else has questions right now for our speakers, we can wrap up a little early. I know everyone's eager to stay on Zoom until 6:30, but
Cammy's speaking for herself.
Love it. I feel most comfortable here. Well, thank you, all three of you, for sharing so much valuable information. This session is being recorded. We will share it with all of the registrants after the fact, and I'm sure you'll be getting questions from hither and yon for some time.
Wonderful. Thank you for hosting. It really is a gift to work with Giselle and Jay. I'm super honored to be here.
Same. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you, Cammy. Thank you, Heather, for the good partnership. Reuse or recycle.
Thank you. Yeah, we really, really appreciate you all. That you're really so great for the state. Thank you.
Go circularity.
Yes.
Have a good week, everybody.
You too. Enjoy the sun.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.